So let's move to the next bit. Now I'm going to bring the data into Power BI, and I can go to the get data here. And there are quite few connections that Power BI brings. I'm going to do a couple of more interesting or a couple of things in addition in Power BI, which is linking the well data to the well production data and being able to filter between one and the other. And the other thing that I will do, it's probably do a bubble map, which I can probably do as well in Python, but let's do it in here. So now I have the several connectors here. If I go to the database connectors, there should be a Postgres SQL database connector. And once I set the connector, I have to specify where is my connection. And this bit here, it's very similar to what we were doing in Python here with all these credentials here. So it's very similar. So establish that we're going to do a Postgres. In the background, Power BI has a adapter to connect to the database. It's pretty much the same. So I'm going to specify that this is a local host, and I can specify the name of the database, which we created as Vault PEG. And I can import all the data, or I can do a direct query, which is every time I change the data, I'm going to do a query of the information. If you're doing this for the first time, it's going to ask you for some credentials, which you have to put your username and your password. I have done this already, and I don't need to specify it again. But now I should have a pop-up where I can have the production and the well metadata. Okay, and now let's bring that information into Power BI. So once the well metadata and the production data it's here, you will find it into the fields area. Now, well, there is a question from Chico, which is if this is an open source tool. Now, this is Power BI. It's not open source, but it's free as far as I'm concerned. Free at least for a desktop version. So what I want to do is let's create very quickly a production chart, similar to what I was doing in Python. So I want to bring the oil volume as the values, and I want to bring the dates as the axis. For the legend, I'm going to use the well name as the legend. Let's see if that works. It's taking a bit of time, but there you go. We have a production data back into Power BI. And in fact, I'm going to put a bit of a dashboard here, where I'm going to put at the top the production data, and at the bottom, I want to bring the water production for the wells. And I also would like to introduce a bit of a well map here. So I can do a well map of this kind, where I will bring the latitude from the well metadata and the longitude from the well metadata and the well name. And as you can see, yes, these wells are in the middle of the North Sea. Power BI is free of cost up to certain point. I think that if you are using the cloud version and you want to collaborate and all that, that's where you have to pay. But the desktop version, you can use it without limitations. Now, one thing that we didn't do in Python, it's cross-reference the production data and the well data, so that I can, if I filter one and the other, I can filter the well metadata and have the effect on the production data. So for instance, in fact, let me change this to a more simple plot, which is a bubble map. And one thing that would be useful to do, it's I have the location, the latitude and the longitude here, and I have the oil volume here. And I want to be able to represent the bubble map here of these oil volumes. But the problem is that if I drag the size, if I drag oil volume, this is from a different table, and it shows me also almost like all of them are in the same amount, same production size, which is not correct. So within Power BI, I can establish the connection between two tables. In this case, what I'm specifying here is that my wells here are corresponding to these wells here. So the well metas are corresponding to the well production data. And the relationships is, yes, I have many name of wells in this table and just single names on this table. So that's going to be super useful to do some filters. And I'm only doing this because someone requested to show how we can do this in Power BI. So, but let's see how when this refreshes, and let's see. Yeah, now the bubbles kind of have a size that represents the production size. And so we can see the well F12, which is this one here, has the highest production, and the next one is the well F14, and we can see the locations in the field more or less where they are located. I can also add filters. Let's add a filter here. I'm going to add a filter here and a table as well. So in the filter, I'm going to add the well name. And in the table, I want to add just a certain summary of the well, such as, let's say, well, longitude, latitude, and I think I should be able, now that the tables are related, I should be able to combine with the other table. Let's say if I want to bring oil volume, and this is bringing the amount of volume produced by all the wells. I can filter the wells. And now you can see that everything is interconnected. I am filtering the wells. I can see only the production data for the 3 wells selected. I can see only the table for that 3 wells selected, and I can see the bubble map for the wells selected. So just because I established the connection between those 2 tables, and everything is live streamed from the SQL database. So that's it from the Power BI point of view. I'm going to save this just in case you want to see later on. I don't want to go to a comparisons with any other tool, but I don't know. I haven't used OFM in ages. I just use the tools like Tableau, or I use Spotfire, which is quite powerful to do a lot of this stuff. So the Spotfire, Python, it's really what you need. Yeah, well, that is also another thing. OFM, it's quite, well, I guess it has a price tag higher than any of the other tools. Spotfire is not free, but it's not super expensive. And Power BI, I wouldn't use Power BI for detailed analysis, but I would use Power BI for more high-level analysis. But for technical analysis, I will use something like Spotfire and a mix of something like Spotfire and Python, probably R. Yes, you can use yeah. There is I'll show you in a bit, Mike. So the question is whether Power BI has a Python kind of link, and yes, there is certain functionalities. So let me save this, and I'm going to save this in the Python. This is what is it that we're doing? SQL DB on both, and I'm going to save it as session production visualization. Okay. Okay. So the question about whether you have a Python, yes, there is an R and a Python link, and you also answer the question quickly. You can enable your Python scripts by dragging. Let's say you want to drag. I don't know how. Forgot how this works. Drag fields into the visual area. So let's say I want to do something with the wells. Yeah. So this is where you enable the code, and it translates what you're bringing into a data frame. So let's say, let me try something here. So I'm going to bring the well latitude and longitude here, and I guess you can bring let's say print the data set, or let's say what's happening there. I don't know what would happen there, but you can bring a plot in here. Actually, something more interesting to do would be to let's say, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's say it's supposed to bring something here. I don't know if I can import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, and then they say I want to plot plt.scatter, and I want to plot data set I guess it's latitude data set longitude. I don't know if that will work. Okay. There's some problems here. Name longitude is not defined. Okay. So we're getting close to that. Longitude, I guess we need to put quotes here, run it. Let's see if that works. No. Longitude. Yeah, not sure why it's not working, but it's supposed to be something like that. So the benefit is that when you filter data here, then you pretty much can, as you filter data, your plot is updated. The Python code didn't result in creation of any visual. Make sure your Python script results in a plot to a Python default device. Well, I'm gonna leave you with that to kind of understand. But yes, you can import your Python script, write your Python script here. If I would add a filter, then whatever plot I'm creating, then it's going to be updated. Okay, no problem, Mike. Okay, let's go to the last session, the last bit. And I need to, let me close this. No, thanks for asking, Mike, because in fact, I was a bit hesitant to do the bit of Power BI because there wasn't any relationship to Python, but at least now it has a relationship to Python after your question. Thank you.